Um, First line of Kuf Chav Chesed Beis 128b, continuing the inquiries that were asked from Rabbi Abba to Rabbi Yosef. No, this is number 4, number 5. 3, I don't remember. Sholach Rabbi Abba, number 5, okay. Sholach Rabbi Abba Rabbi Yosef, first line. Sholach Rabbi Abba Rabbi Yosef Bar Chama. He sent to Rabbi Yosef Bar Chama. HaOmer, one who says, Al Hatinok Ben Habanim. So he says about Atinok Ben Habanim. So we'll see what that means exactly. Ne'eman. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Eino Ne'eman. So he said about a child between the children. So what does that mean? Says the Gemara, good question. Ma'i Kamar, what does that mean? Amar Abaye Hachi Kamar. It means the following. HaOmer Al Tinok Ben Habanim. Yaresh Kol Nechasai. You tell one of the kids, you're going to inherit all of my property. Ne'eman. He's believed. Who does this go like? Like the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka coming up on Daf Kuf Lamed, that Rabbi Yochanan allows you to give all of your possessions to somebody who is fitting to inherit something. So I don't think he would allow, if you have a daughter and a son, to give it all to the daughter. But if you have all sons, you can choose to give it all to one son. If you have daughters, you can give it all to one daughter. So this that he says, you're believed, is like the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Eino Ne'eman. Who does he go like? Kirabanan. The Rabbanan argue. So these two opinions reflect the opinions later on in the Mishnah of Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka and of the Rabbanan. Okay. Maskef Rava, it says, if you're getting involved in a debate between Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka and the Rabbanan, their debate is about who can inherit, not who is believed. So instead of saying he is believed or he's not believed, it should say, Hayi Ne'eman ve'eino Ne'eman. The better language would be, Yaresh v'lo Yaresh. You're going to inherit and you're not going to inherit. If you give all your inheritance to one son, he will inherit. And the other opinion will be, he will not inherit. What does it mean? He's believed versus not believed. So on that we say, Ela Amarava, like this, Hachi Kamar. We're going to really, you have to interpret the cryptic statement as follows. HaOmer al Tinok ben Habanim, Bechor. Bechorhu. If you say about this kid, you are the firstborn, Ne'eman, he's believed. Who is that like? Like Rabbi Yehuda from yesterday, Yakir. The Torah says Yakir, that the father, even against an existing presumption that someone else is the firstborn, the father's believed. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Eino Ne'eman, he says you're not believed. That sides with the opinion of the Rabbanon that we had yesterday. Okay, number 6. Shalach Rabbi Abba Rabbi Yosef Bar Chama. HaOmer Titol Ishti Ke'echad min Habanim. A guy wants his wife to get a portion of his possessions and not only have it all go to the children and have her live off the ksuba. So what does he say? He says, HaOmer Titol Ishti. Titol means to take. My wife should take Ke'echad min Habanim. She should take like one of my sons. So the phraseology used was, my wife should take like one of my sons. So, no, tell us, Ke'echad min Habanim. She now takes like one of the children. Amarava u'b'nechasim shel achshav. Only relevant to the acquisitions he has right now. His nechasim, the things he owns now. Things he will own, it's not gonna go. U'b'banim habayin la'achar mikan. And even if there are more children that come after this point, she's still gonna inherit with those children. So meaning, if there are 3 children right now, his phraseology was, I want you to inherit like one of my children. So basically, she's like the 4th son. However, what he's saying is that he wants his money to go to her equally like the rest of his children. Now, when are they going to get their things? After he dies, they're all going to inherit it. So it applies not only to the kids now, but it applies to any kids afterwards. Because he's just saying that whenever the inheritance gets given over, I want my wife to have a portion of that also. So if right now he has 3 children and there's going to be $1,000, so each one will get $250. However, if afterwards a 5th son is born, then she will get $200. And they keep having children, she might end up with nothing. No, so it will decrease as more children come. So, okay. Okay, number 7. Shalach le Rabbi Abba le Rabbi Yosef bar Chama hamotzi. Okay, so hamotzi shtarchov al chaver. So this is interesting. A guy pulls out a shtarchov, a document saying you owe me $1,000. So shtarchov al chavero. So now malva omer lo nefresi klum. So the lender says you've paid me nothing. Vilova omer, he says, what do you mean? Harati mechza. So the malva says you paid me 500. Then the lova says that the malva says you paid me nothing. The lova, the borrower, says, what do you mean? I paid you 500. And then what happens? Two witnesses walk in the door. The ha'edim eidim shapara kulo. And witnesses come and say, you've paid the whole thing. So what do you do now? So assuming that the borrower, he's at a loss over here. He claims the guy has paid nothing. He's against the borrower's word, and he's against the witnesses. But the question is the lova going to have to pay everything like the witnesses say or not? So let's see. So, yeah. So harei zen nishba. So harei zen nishba, the lova, the borrower, can make a general shvua, which we call a shvua modeh b'miktas. If someone claims something against you and you swear you only owe half, so then he can make a regular oath, and he will then obligate himself in half, and he will exempt himself from half. Yeah. So now the witnesses are only coming after he already admitted to half, not before. If they came beforehand, then too bad. He has to pay the whole thing. They came afterwards. So now he takes a shvua, and he now is exempt from paying half, and the other half he has to pay. Why? The general rule is hoda'as baldin is even more. Is even more. It's the same as 100 witnesses. Meaning we have I believe it's based on a verse that when a person admits something, he admits to it. So that is the same status as witnesses. So the guy said, I owe you 500 out of 1,000. Okay, but you owe you 500, and you make a special shvua called the modeh b'miktas. You exempt yourself from half, and you have to pay half. Now, where can this lender collect his 500 from? So v'gova mechza min b'nei chorin. He can only collect from the property that doesn't have any insurance on it, meaning like the movables, from the car and from the TV and from the from other things. Aval mishubadim lo. He can't collect from things that already have are already mishubad, are already have a lien on them. So for instance, in general, if you're collecting from real estate, so if the guy that owed you money sold houses while he still owed you money, you can go to the people that have acquired them and take it back. But in this case, if he tries to do that, they're going to say, "Da Amri, anana edim samchinan." They said, "We rely on the witnesses. You can't take from us." The witnesses said that he paid back the whole thing, right? The witnesses came and said he paid back everything. So it's interesting law. Even though we go after his word and we let him exempt himself from 500, but the witnesses, their testimony is still valid in a certain case. In the case where you go to the to the buyers of the property of the borrower, said, listen, he sold you all these houses, but he owed me money, so I'm taking the house back. They'll say, well, listen, witnesses already claimed that he paid everything back, so we can rely on those witnesses and not have to give you back anything. So therefore, he can only collect from the property, that's not in someone else's possession, from the bnei chorah, not the mishubadim. Yeah. Now, we're saying va'afilu l'Rebbi Akiva. Okay, so now there's a case in Bava Metzia where Rabbi Akiva has a machlokas with I believe it's Rabbi Eliezer. What happens? You have a document, and a document says, it has a general language of siloyim, dollars. It says dollars. So what's minimal dollars? 2. Now, right? So the document says that the guy owes me dollars without specifying how many dollars, right? So the lender says, you owe me 5. And the lender says, you owe me 3. So now, the lender has admitted to one more than the document is minimally stating. So the document says dollars, minimal dollars is 2. The lender is saying more than 2. I owe you 3. So now the borrower says 5 and the lender says 3. So what's the halacha? So that's a debate. According to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, it was Reb Shimon ben Elazar. According to Elazar, okay, it's like every case. The guy says 5, you say 3. It's a partial admission. Mm-hmm. Whenever we have a partial admission, you can swear to exempt yourself from the remainder, and you obligate yourself to pay the 3. However, Rabbi Akiva says something interesting. He says, no. He says, you're considered like someone just returning a lost object. Why? Because you could have said 2 and got away with it. And you instead said 3. So therefore, we're not going to obligate you a shvuah. I don't remember now, but I think someone there says it's the same as our migu concept. Since I could have said 2 and gotten out of it, when I said 3, you have to believe me, and you can't make me swear. If I remember correctly, someone says it over there. So now, okay. So basically, what's the idea? When someone could have got away with less and admits to more, Rabbi Akiva says, you're just like someone who's returning a lost object. Now, what's someone who returns a lost object? So let's say he returns a lost object, and the person claims against him, what, you found my $5 bill? It was I had $7 in that wallet. So the guy is he's a return of a lost object. So maybe he should make a shvuah. So the rabbi said no, because if you're going to make a guy who returns a lost object make a shvuah, make an oath every time, no one will return objects. So mepnei tikkun olam, a phrase that everyone likes to use nowadays. Yeah, in terms of tikkun olam, in terms of in this case it means society should function. We need a functional society, because that's important for election day. Okay, so we need a functional society. Had to make one comment, right? So we need a functional society. So therefore, mipnei tikkun olam, for the upholding of the world of society, we don't make a guy swear. So now, back to our case. What would we say over here? So we're saying that even according to Rabbi Akiva, who says that you admitted to more than what the document says, you do not need to make an oath. However, even according to him, so how about in this case? Why in this case do you make the guy swear? Maybe in this case he should also be considered like a Meshiv Aveda. Why? Because here you have witnesses saying that he paid back the whole thing, right? So he could have just went along with the witnesses, and instead he admitted that he still owes. The same way you have a document saying minimally $2, and you come benevolently and say, I owe you, I really only paid back, I really owe, the guy says, you owe me 5. He says, no, I paid back 3. I still owe you 2 more. And he could have got away with more. He could have got away with less, sorry. Just like over there, he said, I owe you more than what the document says. So to here, you're saying, I owe you more than what the witnesses said. So maybe you should, and yet we say here, the guy has to swear. So we're saying, even don't think it's only according to Rabbi Shimon Elazar over there, who always makes you swear. Even according to Rabbi Akiva, you have to swear. Why? What's the difference between when you say that you owe more against witnesses, or when you say that you owe more against a legal document? How come in Bava Metzia you're off the hook? You're like someone who returned a lost object. And here, you're also saying more than what you had to. So it's interesting. I would have said, by the way, just thinking right now, you admitted before the witnesses came. It's not so fair. I don't know. That should be a good difference. Why isn't that a difference? I don't know. Okay. The Gemara is going to give a difference. Let's see. So the idea of Meisha Veda Havihani Mili Hechadaleka Edim when there's no witnesses. Aval Hechadika Edim. So maybe Irtuche Irtas. Maybe he's just scared. He sees. I guess. I don't know if you have to say this, but it says the witnesses are there, but they haven't spoken yet, right? So now he's scared. Maybe they're going to obligate me in everything. So because he's scared, he admits partially. So you don't have that benevolent factor anymore. Maybe his admitting to something is not because he's being, such a just individual and I could have got away with less. He's really just speaking up because he's worried that these witnesses are going to make him pay everything. Little did he know, they say he's exempt from everything. But he spoke first and then the witnesses spoke. So therefore, when he says what he says here, it could be it's partially due to the fear of witnesses, and therefore you can't say anymore, well, he could have got away with less. Well, no, he couldn't because he was worried that the witnesses might make him pay everything. So he had to admit to something. Okay. Maskiflo Marbar Ravashi. Marbar Ravashi challenges this and says, Adarabba, the opposite. Afilu l'Reb Shimon Elazar. Even according to Reb Shimon Elazar, even according to Reb Shimon Elazar, who says this should be a regular case of Modeh B'Miktas, of partial admission. Modeh B'Miktas Hataina is a claim. When you partially admit to the claim, then you have to make a special oath called Modeh B'Miktas. So even according to Reb Shimon Elazar and Bava Mציעא, who says that when a guy says Yomi 5 and you say I only owe you 3, and the document says that you owe 2, so you're being benevolent, he doesn't care, he says you still have to make an oath. Hani mili heicha deleka edim. That's when there's no witnesses. When that's when there's no witnesses that are supporting the guy. Over there, there are no witnesses there supporting the guy. Aval hacha the ika edim the sayele. Here you have witnesses that are supporting him. Vadai meisha veda have. So he says the opposite. In this case, the witnesses are helping you, not hurting you. They're there to support you. So the Rashbam says he's bothered by what I'm bothered by also. Even though the witnesses are only coming afterwards, so apparently that's not a good rejection. Because once again, the guy's speaking first and then the witnesses are speaking. Mm-hmm. But yet the Gemara still says that we view the witnesses as a support. At the end of the day, they supported the guy's claim. So at the end of the day, when you put all the facts together, the guy admitted to owing half the money. The witnesses end up saying you actually paid everything off. So when the witnesses are actually supporting you, then Rabbi Shimon Elazar does not make you make an oath. So basically, like this, is this case similar to the case in Bava Mציעא? So either it's different because Rabbi Akiva will make you make an oath over here, or it's different because Rabbi Shimon Elazar, who makes you make an oath over there, will not make you make an oath over here. So either way you go, it's going to be different than over there. Either it can, yeah. Okay. So Darish Mar Zutra Mishmei Rav Simi Barashi. Okay, so now we had all these statements of that Rav Abba sent to Rav Yosef Bar Chama. So Darish Mar Zutra Mishmei Rav Simi Barashi Hilchasa B'chol Hani Shmaitata K'deshalach Le Rabbi Abba Rav Yosef Bar Chama. Everything that Rabbi Abba sent to Rav Yosef Bar Chama, all those halachas, the halacha is like every one of them. Okay. Amar le Ravina le Rav Ashi de Rav Nachman Mahai. So this is now we're gonna review all those cases to see if so Rav Nachman was the one that said was the debate about can you collect from slaves or not, from servants. So we know that you can collect from land. So after the guy dies, you can collect from the orphan's land. What about collecting from their servants? So find all these cases. Yeah, over here. So it's towards the top of the previous Amud. So there it says that Rav Nachman says you cannot collect, and the first and Rav Yosef says that you could collect from servants. So we just said the halacha is like Rav Yosef. So he's asking, he says, well, what about Rav Nachman? Now, who cares that it's Rav Nachman? What's that about Rav Nachman? So the Rashbam says, in general, when you have a debate when it comes to laws and Rav Nachman's involved, he says that the halacha is like Rav Nachman bedine. When you want to know different halachas, often the halacha is like Rav Nachman. So we usually go like Rav Nachman. And over here, telling you in the case of collecting from servants after the guy dies, then we don't go like Rav Nachman. So in halacha, you're going to come out with a contradiction. It's like we go like Beis Hillel and like Beis Shammai. Hold on, make up your mind. Right. So if generally the rules of how we figure out halacha go like Rav Nachman in these cases, and over here you're going against that. So that's a kasha, that's a difficulty in halacha. So he answers. Sorry. Yeah. Amar Rav Ashi, Rav Nachman Mai, Amar Le, Ein Govin Masnisin La. So what you have to say is that what he really meant was Ein Govin. That really he would agree, like Rav Nachman, the halacha is going to be Ein Govin. V'chein Amar Rav Nachman. So well, you have to. I guess you're really changing Rav Yosef what he said, and you're saying what he said was Ein Govin. And similarly, Rav Nachman, meaning that he agrees with Rav Nachman. Okay, so then if that's true, so when you make this statement, when Mar Zutra made the statement, so now, when Mar Zutra made the statement that the halacha is like everything that Rabbi Abba sent to Rav Yosef, who was he coming to exclude? Meaning, ve'ela hilchasa la'afuke mai. So, if you agree to Rav Nachman, right? So you're saying the halacha is like everything he sent back, and you agree to Rav Nachman. So who are you coming to exclude? Sounds like you're coming to exclude certain opinions. So tell us who halacha is like everything he sent, as opposed to. And you don't tell us. La'afuke mai, who are you excluding? So now we're going to go through it. So maybe it's la'ida, going on to the next page. Ila'afuke midir Rava. Maybe you're coming to exclude Rava. So now we're going back to the debate about third generations testifying for first generations. And that it's easier to find all these things. So over there, if you want to tell me you're coming to exclude Rava, that said that a third generation can even come and testify on a first generation, he says, but Rava wasn't arguing, he was just Mosifhu. He was adding to Rabbi Abba. Rabbi Abba said that a third generation can testify in a second generation. So you have two brothers, the first cousins are called the second generation, their children are called the third generation. So that Rabbi Abba said, the second cousins can testify legally on the first cousins. Rava was just adding even on Rishon, even on the first cousins, but he's not arguing. So the halacha is like Rabbi Abba, but Rava agrees to Rabbi Abba. So once again, who is disagreeing with Rabbi Abba that you're coming to clarify for us that in that disagreement, the halacha is like Rabbi Abba? So maybe you'll tell me, Ida Marbar of Ashi. So maybe it's like Marbar of Ashi, who says that you're allowed to testify on a grandfather. And maybe that's where Rabbi Abba disagrees. And that's where Mar Zutra came and said, you should know the halacha is like Rabbi Abba, and you cannot testify on your grandfather. But that we say is Leis Hilchas Kamar Baravashi. We know already the halacha is not like him. We don't need you for that. We know already the halacha is not like him. So that can't be what you're coming to exclude. Yeah. So, and Mar Zutra came after that statement. So you, Mar Zutra, basically, what's your point? A guy says something obvious. So like, what are you trying to get at? Who are you trying to exclude? So maybe you'll tell me, Ila Fuke Mida Shmuel, Virav Sheshas, Virav Papa. Maybe we're excluding all those people that said that someone who was either blind or deranged, they all can't testify, right? That was you can't testify until you if you were blind, you can't testify, and if you were Shmuel and Rav Sheshan probably said that a blind person could testify even on land because he can identify the borders, even on a shirt because he can tell you the length and the width, and even on a piece of metal because he knows how much it weighs. So maybe you want to tell me the halacha is like Rabbi Abba as opposed to them. So we said ha isusu, meaning we already had a rejection on them. That's what we ended off yesterday. The first 3 words of yesterday's Amud was tiyufta de kula tiyufta. We already brought a rejection to them. So we don't need you to tell me that halacha is not like them. We've already rejected all those opinions. Ela le'afuke mid Rabbi Yochanan, that maybe we're coming to exclude the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, who says, okay, which one was Rabbi Yochanan? He's the one that said, yeah, he's the one who said that one who testifies that the kid's a bechor. So we said that that Rabbi Yehuda allows it, and Rabbi Yochanan was like the Rabbanan who says you do not have the validity to establish your son as a firstborn if there's already a pre-existing assumption that it's not true. So maybe the halacha is like Rabbi Abba to exclude Rabbi Yochanan. So that we say kafta demar baravashi. And we're coming against Mar Barav Ashi. Who was Mar Barav Ashi? That we just had now. Mar Barav Ashi was the one that said, you're like the one who's returning a lost object. Mar Barav Ashi said that even according to Hashem ben Elazar, we're going with Mar Barav Ashi against Rabbi Abba. Mar Barav Ashi said that even according to Hashem ben Elazar and Bav Mציעא, in our case of the guy says you owe me money, and the guy admits to only owing half, and 2 witnesses say that you really are exempt from the whole thing. So Mar Barav Ashi said that in this case, the witnesses are a support to you, and therefore everyone's going to agree that you are like a Meshiv Aveda. So we're saying that the halacha is not like him. The halacha is not like him. So just this statement of Rav Zutra, of Mar Zutra, is telling you we're excluding Rabbi Yochanan, who says that goes like the Rabbanan, who says that you do not have the validity to establish your son as a firstborn if there's already another son which is already established as the firstborn. That's one. And 2 is we do not agree to Mar Barav Ashi, who wanted to say that everyone agrees in that case that we start off with today, or that we said a few minutes ago, you are like a Meshiv Aveda. Why? Because the Rashbam says, our point, that when you said that you owe half the money, the witnesses haven't spoken yet. So you can't tell me that the witnesses are a support for you, right? The whole idea over there was, well, at the end of the day, the witnesses are supporting your claim, but they haven't spoken yet. So really, when you spoke, you can't say the witnesses are supporting your claim. Maybe you were scared that they're going to come against you, and that's why you spoke, and therefore, the halakha is going to be not like Mar Barav Ashi. Okay.
You need to pay all.
When you admit half, you have to pay all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it before. When we talk, I don't remember what the.
Okay, I need to go back into my.
Right?
Go back into my brain and try to find the case. Yeah, it's ringing a bell to me, but
it did say something like that.
Somebody comes and says, "I owe you owe me 100." He says, "No, I owe you 50."
Right.
You owe me pay all.
Well, in the beginning above Mציעא,
I
maybe.
thought you just paid the 50.
Right, that's the usual case. But over there, there's a Gemara that says that can't mention Yachol Lishaval Lishalim. If for some reason you're not able to make a swear, if you're not able to swear, let's say we're worried you're a suspicious guy, so we can't put an oath on you, then you need to pay up everything. I don't remember. Okay. Continuing. Oh, so okay, fine. So we're done with all of those questions that were asked, and now we go back to our mission. So let's just review the mission for a second. I know it's fresh in everyone's mind. I'm just for a second. So the end of the Mishnah said, right, about these different languages of how you divide up your property. You can't go directly against the Torah. You can't say, well, my son will not inherit. You can't do that. What could you do? The end of the Mishnah said, so you're dividing up your property. Now you want to give, this son more land, this son less land. You want to give them all equal, no problem. That's fine, because you can give out your money to people the way you want. It's your money. You can divvy it out as a present to anybody you want. However, there was one stipulation. Im amar mishum Yerusha lo amar klum. You can't give out money and say, I want you to inherit more than somebody else, because the Torah says not that way. But you can gift it. Yeah. So, kasav, however, then here's the cryptic line. Kasav bein betchila, bein be'emza, bein besof, mishum matana, dvarav kayamin. If you write the language of matana in the beginning, middle, end, your words are substantiated, they're upheld. What is beginning, middle, and end? Good question. So, hamachalik nechasav al piv, ribal echad, amiyal echad. Heichi dami matana betchila, heichi dami be'emza, heichi dami besof. Says the Gemara, what does it mean you're writing a language of a present in the... We scared Steve away. It's too intense. Okay. So you're writing a language of a present in the beginning, in the middle, and the end. So what does that mean? What's the case? And this is going to be, it's going to take us for potentially till the Mishnah, which is coming up soon. Get excited. Okay. So, heichi dami matana betchila, heichi dami be'emza, heichi dami besof. So now, Ki asa Rav Dimi Amar Rabbi Yochanan, the following. Tinatein sadeh plonis laploni. So now, tinatein is a language of a gift. I want to give my field, this sadeh plonis, the anonymous field. So the field over there, let's say for our case, on the north end, I want to give it to Ruvain, Yarsha, and I want him to inherit that. So now, he said a language of a gift, and he said a language of inheritance. However, since he can't go against the Torah, we don't view the language of inheritance as anything substantial. What are you left with? He gave a gift. So in this case, why is it called the beginning? Because in the beginning of the statement, you mentioned the gift. And then afterwards, you said a language of inheritance. So, Zuhi matana betchila. That's the case of the Mishnah, where it's called a matana betchila, where you first say a language of matana. Yeah. Okay. Now, what if you say, Yarsha, I want you to inherit, Vitinatein lo, I want you to inherit this field and be given to you. It's going to be given to you. There, the language of matana is at the end. You put the language of inheritance first, and then the language of matana. So once again, the inheritance part we don't really hear, because you're going into Torah. So obviously, that's irrelevant. But you want to give a language of matana, that we do here. And therefore we say, Zuhi matana basof. That's an example of using a language of matana in the end. Now, betchila yarsha betinatin, yarsha betinatin lo yarsha. So now he said, I want you to inherit it. I'm going to give you the field so that you should inherit it. So now the matana is sandwiched in the middle. I want you to inherit the field that I'm going to give you, that I want you to inherit. So, I know you're wondering, why do people speak this way?
Yeah.
They want us to get more reward for learning, obviously. So, no, but sometimes the way I answer that question is like, you have to know what's going to happen in the outlier cases to get the rule down, right? In the common cases, you don't see the rule often, right? But in the outlier cases, it happens on Shabbos all the time. What happens if I'm in that case? Then your rules of Shabbos are really going to play in. In a regular day scenario, you don't see the rules. So that's okay. But if a guy says this, I want you to inherit, to give it to you as a gift to inherit, that's called matana be'emza. And once again, even though you mentioned the language of inheritance, but you can't go against the Torah, so all we hear is the language of matana, the language of a gift, and that is the example in the Mishnah, Zuhi matana be'emza. Now, just to make it more exciting, v'dafka be'adam echad v'sada achas. This is only true, this is all true when you have one person and one field. Now, what's going to be with one person and two fields? Or two people and one field? So now, B'davka ba'adam echad v'sada achas. Aval ba'adam echad v'shtei sados. So you have one person and two fields. For example, you say, Reuven, I want you to inherit this field, which is over there in the east. And then, so you say, Yaresh Reuven sada plonis, the Rashbam says, I want Reuven to inherit the field, which is in the east. V'tinat la Reuven sada plonis shebemarav. So I want you, Reuven, to inherit the field that's over there in the east, and I'm going to give you the field that's over there in the west. So you want to have the guy inherit the field in the east, and then give the gift in the west. So hold on, you can't inherit the field in the east. That's going to go against the Torah, right? There's many siblings over here. They're all going to get a share of your field. So in that case, we say that the Lashon Yerusha, it goes on a field. Well, that can't be. So forget that whole statement. Oh, and the gift on this field, that we could do. Only when it's one person in one field do you hear the word Yerusha, inheritance, and the word Mitana in one sentence, right? And then you disregard the word Yerusha. It's irrelevant. But once you have two fields, and the guy's saying, I want to inherit you the field in the east and give you the field in the west. So one second, then the Yerusha has its own identity now. It's now, it has its own identity, and therefore it's attributed to that field. And we say, no, you can't do that. So that's Adam Echad v'shtei sados. Now, what about Sada Achas v'shnei bnei Adam? What if you have one field and two people? So then it's also going to be the same thing. The word Yerusha is going to go on to one of the people. So, I want Reuven and Shimon to inherit. And then you say, what's a better example? The case of one field and two people. So you say, I want to give you, I want Reuben to inherit the field. I want Reuben to inherit this field, and then I'm going to give Shimon as a present. Something like that. So once again, the word inheritance is going to cling on to one of the people. You can't do that to them. And the word gift will cling on to the other person, and that you could do. So when it's two fields and one person, or one person and two fields, low. That's not going to work. So just to get that example clear, the Rashbam says, you say, I want Reuven to inherit half the field, half this field, and give half of it to Shimon. I want Reuven to inherit half this field, and then half the field should go to Shimon. So in that case, it's the same thing. The word inheritance for Reuven, you can't do. So all that's left is the half the field that goes to Shimon. And the Rashbam adds in, for sure, if it's two fields, the two people, and use the lashon of inheritance, then it definitely implies you want one person to inherit that field, and the other person to give that field as a present. Then the word Yerusha is going to have its own. It's going to be stuck onto that statement, and that you can't do. The only time you can add the word Yerusha and get away with it is one person in one field, because when it's in the same sentence as the word matana, as the gift, so then the fact you said Yerusha is irrelevant. We don't care about that. It has no relevance to us. The second the word Yerusha can go on its own and break away from the word matana, either on its own field, on its own person. So once again, you can't. That doesn't have any legal. It's not a legal acquisition, because then you're going against the Torah. Fine. That is the first opinion. Rabbi Lazar Omer, afilu adam echad u'shtei sados, even one person and two fields are sada achas v'shnei bnei adam, or one field and two people. Rabbi Lazar says, as long as there's one. So if it's one person or one field, then he holds it's going to be the same as one person and one field. You still said those words together, the word Yerusha and the word Matana. We're still going to not hear the word Yerusha at all and only see the words Matana. However, even he will agree of al b'shtei sados u'shnei bnei adam lo. But when it comes to two fields, to two people, even Rav Lazar is going to agree that's already too much. That's like, I want you to inherit, you Reuben inherit that field, and you Shimon to be given that field as a present. then you're going directly against the Torah, and that he's not going to allow. Okay. Ki asa Ravin came from Eretz Yisrael. Amar, he said the following: Tinatin sada plonis laploni. Give this field to this person. I want the field, let's say, in the east to go to Ruvain. The Yaresh ploni sada plonis, and I want this person, Shimon, to inherit this field. So now, you said the word tinatin as a gift, the language of a gift, and you also said the word Yaresh as an inheritance, and you had two people and you had two fields. So Rabbi Yochanan Omer Kana. Rabbi Yochanan says you've acquired it. Rabbi Lazar Omer Lo Kana. Rabbi Lazar says it doesn't work at all. Rabbi Yochanan says this works. So now the what works or what doesn't work? The fact that you said Yerusha, it's still okay. Right? According to Rabbi Yochanan, it's still okay. It sounds like even two fields to two people is okay. Rabbi Lazar, like we just said, he says, no, two fields to two people, no good. One field, two people, two fields to one person, one field to one person. Those three cases, that's fine. Two fields to two people, lo kana. Even Rabbi Lazar agrees with that. But now we see a third opinion. Rabbi Yochanan, even two fields to two people, even that's going to work. He still will hear the word Yerusha and Matana. It's all one thing. He'll not hear the word Yerusha, and he'll let the word Matana go on the whole acquisition, and therefore it'll be good. Amar le Abai le Ravin. Abai said to Ravin, Anach lan chada atakfat lan chada. So you've left one of us and you've attacked another one of us. So meaning one of your words is good, like the word nakas, pleasant. It's good. But I can't say this word. But you attacked you attacked one of your words is not good for us. Which one's that? Bishlam Rabbi Lazar Lokashia. So according to Rabbi Lazar, there's no problem at all because kan ba'adam echad v'shtei sados and kan b'shnei adam v'shtei sados. According to Rabbi Lazar, it's fine. One case is dealing with one person in two fields. One is two people in two fields. So those words of yours are fine, no problem. Ella de Rabbi Yochanan kasha. You're telling me that Rabbi Yochanan allows two fields to two people. However, earlier Rav Dimi came. So Rav Dimi and Rabbi used to always travel from Eretz Yisrael. So Rav Dimi said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that two fields to two people is not good. And now you're telling me in the name of Rabbi Yochanan two fields to two people is good? That doesn't work. Says the Gemara, once again, we didn't hear Rabbi Yochanan say it himself. We heard someone saying the name of Rabbi Yochanan. So what's the answer? Amorayin, who they were Amoraim. They came later, they weren't Tanaim. And they each have their own tradition of what Rabbi Yochanan said. This is what his Rabbi taught me, this is what his Rabbi taught him. So Amorayin and who? Rabbi Yochanan. So therefore not a problem. Reish Lakish Amar. Reish Lakish says, Lo kana, none of this works. Until you say the following. Fourth opinion. Everything we said until now, nothing works. Even one field to one person, until you say it in the exact formulation as follows. Lo kana achi yomer, until you say, ploni u ploni. So, Mr. and Mr. Yirshu sada plonis are going to inherit that field. Yirshu sada plonis u plonis, they're going to inherit those two fields. She nasati lahem b'matan, which I'm giving to them as a gift. V'yirshum. And they are going to inherit it. So now, once you say that formulation, so then that is going to work. Maybe we'll start tomorrow off explaining